Returning to Elm Street for the second time, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, released in November 1985, just a year after Wes Craven's genre-defining original. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, represents a swift capitalisation on burgeoning horror phenomenon. Directed by Jack Shoulder and penned by David Chaskin, the film was a highly anticipated follow-up to the story of Freddy Krueger, the spectral child murderer haunting the dreams of suburban teenagers. However, upon release, Freddy's Revenge quickly garnered a reputation distinct from its predecessor, often marked by critical derision and fan confusion regarding its narrative choices and apparent disregard for the already established rules of the Freddy Dream-based powers. Welcome to Beyond the Screen. I'm Rob Taylor.
And I'm Emma Arneil.
And tonight we are discussing Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Someone is coming back to Elm Street. He is not friendly. He is not patient. And he is not a welcome visitor. But he has something terribly special for the new kid on the block.
It started to happen again. Dad! You're in trouble. You've had some scary dreams, okay? Help!
Daddy can't help you now.
There's something inside him.
Fight him! You're not afraid of him. He doesn't even exist.
Freddy Krueger is back on Elm Street.
Get out of here, Lisa!
Jesse, fight him!
Watch out for him. He'll be in your neighborhood soon. A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2.
All my children now.
Freddy's Revenge.
So welcome to Beyond the Screen, and tonight we are talking about Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. It's a favourite of mine's. I love it more than the original, controversially maybe for some people. I certainly found it the most accessible of the Nightmare series when I was growing up. And it is one I often return to and I enjoy very much. I enjoy performances. I like the story. There's a lot of subtext, a lot of things that can be read into this, given the age in which it was made, and the sort of social and social dynamics and politics of the time, and sexuality, exploration of sexuality. What about yourself, Emma? Do you like?
I do. I mean, as we know, original Nightmare is a near weekly watch for me. So to revisit Nightmare 2 was welcome. I was more than happy to step into that world. I think I saw it first when I was about 14 or 15. And it was a copy of a friend's copy.
Oh, one of the
Yeah.
copy of a copy.
Yeah.
Sort of degraded VHS, fuzzy
Ring
fuzzy
style,
screen.
yeah.
Yes.
Freddie won't come and get my friend because she made a copy. So
So it's not in your copy. It's only if you watch the original copy that Freddy can actually get you.
yeah, and like you, I think at that time it was more accessible. It was certainly, for me, it was safer than the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
We've spoken before about the impact that film had on me, and obviously as a very innocent 14 or 15-year-old, I can't quite remember when it was, I did not pick up on any subtext whatsoever, other than I'm glad I don't have a dodgy PE teacher.
Exactly. I think likewise I was quite young and probably I wouldn't have picked up on the entire. I think I probably saw it 12, 13. It was at the time when the Nightmare on Elm Street series were coming to an end. It was kind of Nightmare 5, and we were getting on to Freddy's Dead, and just before New Nightmare, sort of tail end of the 80s, early 90s.
When he was making people into meatballs.
Yeah, Meatball
And
Freddy, Pizza Freddy, and
Motorbike Freddy.
Motorbike Freddy, and God, there's so many diversions from the original film that series took. But Nightmare 2, I found in a bargain basement bucket of VHSs.
Oh,
in
cool.
Pound Stretcher, I think, or something like that. And it was I don't know, $2.99.
We're aging ourselves here, aren't
Aging
we?
ourselves. I'm aging myself, and I was allowed to pick it up for what was it, £2-3, whatever. And I'd seen the original, I think, maybe at that point, or maybe not. I'm confused now if I saw Nightmare 2 before I saw any of the other ones. I can't quite remember. But anyway, Nightmare 2 was great cover art done by Graham Humphreys, I think, did the cover art for Nightmare 2 as well, and you know, Freddy over the school bus on the poster, and
The colours are amazing.
colours are really lurid and quite they're quite vivid and unnatural. They're really quite 1980s kind of painted poster art, actually, which you don't get now. You know, posters of modern films are digitised, they're photoshopped, they're photographs, whereas posters used to be hand drawn, and the artwork was phenomenal. And sadly, the 1980s was probably the last decade of that. So the poster drew me in, and then the idea of a character who comes after you when you're dreaming, you know. And so I sat down to this, and I was really entertained by it. I really identified with Jesse Walsh, the essential character. He's the out of sync new kid on the block. You know, he's an outcast in his own community. He's finding his way, and I think that ties into finding out about himself and exploring himself.
Absolutely.
Whether it's about who he is, who he wants to be sexually, who he is. I think there's a lot of themes that come through that, and there is that predatory sense of the PE teacher. I've forgotten his name now.
What is his name?
It's Snyder.
Snyder. That's it. He's got a stick up his ass.
So it's kind of that. There is, and I know this might sound crude, and I don't know how this is, but it's this whole thing of he's inside me, this Freddy possession theme that comes through. There's a lot of possession themes in the 80s. We had Amityville 2, which we'll talk about later on in the series, has possession elements that clearly were bunged in at the end to try and cash in on the Exorcist kind of phenomena, you know. So there was a lot of possession techniques in this, the idea that Freddy's possessing Jesse as an entity inside, but looking deeper into that, there's kind of that deconstruction of gay identity and possibly moving into elements of homoeroticism in Freddy too.
Yeah, and it was famously called the gayest horror film ever made.
Well, again, it has that reputation, and it kind of it is. I mean, there's overtly, I think there's S&M elements in there as well. You know, there's that sort of predatory gym teacher Schneider who is preying on Jesse. And then there's that scene in the shower, the changing rooms where he's tied up, and you know, there's a lot of sadomasochistic kind of violence, really.
Yeah.
What's happening?
I want all you. Don't worry about it. Let them do their work, all right?
Yo, man, where have you been? Saturn got wasted last night. He must have been working late. Some maniac came in and sliced him up like a kielbasa. Packed him in the shower. He got bloody footprints all over the place.
When they fight, which I thought was a very homoerotic fight between the two of them, and it starts with Jesse being scanted.
Yes, yeah.
Which is an old word, isn't it?
Scanted. I've not heard that word since 1981. And it's now 2025. So Emma has just used the word scanted.
Which is when you expose somebody's bum by pulling down their
Yes.
their trousers, which would the boys at high school love to do to each other.
I never was scanted, I don't think.
No, nor was I. But
So,
I've been witness to
Yes.
scantings.
You've been witnessing scanting.
Not regularly.
Not regularly.
In the past.
In the past. Not in the present day, but it's not
No,
a
no.
regular
Oh, my
habitual
goodness.
watch of yours. Sorry, I'm
But that's how the fight begins.
Yeah.
Is Jesse is exposed in front of his peers on the it's baseball, isn't it, or something like that they're
yes,
playing,
of that, yeah.
and it ends up being it's more of a tussle between the two of them. They are rolling, and it does look quite sexual. And the PE teacher is watching,
Yeah.
and then they're punished by their punishment is to do however many push-ups. And can I just say that their push-up form is terrible.
Right,
It is
okay.
shocking. It's shocking.
I hadn't
No
noticed.
PT would be happy with the way that they were doing their push-ups. But Grady ends up saying, "Oh, it's something along the lines of he gets his rocks off to this. He's down at the queer S&M joints downtown, or something like that." So he's setting that.
Yeah.
That we already know that
That's
there might be
that-
something about this teacher.
That sequence in itself is quite... And I remember seeing that sequence as a young person, the sort of the gay bar and the sort of S&M club, or certainly a bar where people are, dressed in attire that would relate to sort of S&M themes being quite dank and sweaty and quite
Dark
and grotty, and we don't know really if Jesse's sleepwalking or if he's dreaming or in terms of that. Is that right? I think we don't know, do we? We don't.
No, because there's never, like the original Nightmare, you never see anyone falling asleep.
No,
we
there's
don't
that,
get
there's
any of
that
that
blurring
kind
of the narrative.
Uh-huh.
We don't know when it's sleeping time or when it's...
Yeah.
But going back to what I wanted to say was in terms of the shower scene where, and again it's not just the scanting but it's the way that that Jesse's whipped by towels, and it's specifically buttocks, and there's a lot of sort of predatory, unwanted, uninvited behaviour caused potentially by Freddy. And then this idea of possession not being the person that you need to be or not being the person that you should be, that sort of gay crisis metaphor, is in terms of trying to search for your identity, being accepted by your identity. In fact, I think there's a scene where Freddy actually emerges from a body. That is his. So he manifests inside someone else. So, and it's almost like a comment on coming out, yeah, and I think at that time with the AIDS crisis, which would have been at its height in 1985, 86, there was a lot of scaremongering, a lot of
heightened homophobia,
in relation to that. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting themes that come out of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and it becomes, I think it's dated really well. I love it. It's a 1980s movie. I love Jesse. I love Lisa in it. I love that relationship, that dynamic. It feels loving.
They're very sweet. I've
They
got
are.
that written down that they are so cute.
Yeah, no, they are, and it's so, and so Lisa is the final girl in the film, but Jesse's the final boy. In that sense.
Which at this point we hadn't seen before.
No, we hadn't seen that at all.
And it's probably quite important for us to say that you and I are both straight, cis people.
Yes.
So we can't speak from that queer perspective.
No,
but we do
absolutely
love and value and respect the LGBTQIA plus community. And we're talking about this film because it has been claimed and reclaimed by and celebrated by the people who saw themselves in it, even though the people who made it kind of didn't necessarily
which is
acknowledge
or potentially, I don't know, did they must have. I was looking at the film again, and there's things that I hadn't noticed before, like in Jesse's bedroom there's a explicit sign on his bedroom door saying no chicks allowed.
yeah
There's elements everywhere of
yeah
that
and I think
subtext.
David Chastain denied the subtext for years. However, he's since admitted that the subtext was deliberate, and was a kind of way to almost exploit fears of the audience, especially considering the context and the climate that the film was released into, and that plays a big part in the Mark Patton documentary, Scream Queen.
Right,
where
I've not seen this.
It's great. I saw it a few years ago now, where basically it's kind of Mark Patton's kind of way of acknowledging basically that his being blamed for the kind of failure of this film was because of his performance and not because of the subtext and the writing and the imagery, and it's basically his kind of...
Absolutely nothing wrong with Mark Patton's performance at all.
He's
amazing
he is
in it,
great. I said that he's a real promising talent.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame that his career never took off. However, the kind of the upshot of it is that he has forgiven the people who kind of put that on him, who kind of blamed him for that. So, testament to what a sweetheart of a guy
I think
he
it
is.
is. Yeah, I think possibly not being treated in Hollywood for, because even his performance as Jesse in the film is quite as effeminate sort of behaviours and mannerisms that come. He does a very, very excellent dance. I love
With a pop gun.
to touch me all night long. Performed by Wish.
How do you like that, man?
I need you so bad, baby. This is where you belong. Don't make me wait too long. All night long. Hold me, baby, drive me crazy, touch me all night long, make me love you, kiss and yes, Ailey. Touch me all night long. You're my handyman.
I'll leave the two of you alone. Excuse me.
I told her you invited me over. I guess maybe I should have called.
No. It's fine, really. I mean, I was just cleaning my room.
I know. I figured you might like some help.
Featuring Rhonda Ray, and it is a great song. But there is this kind of symbolism of the pop gun going off just as Lisa is entering his space
With his mum as well.
I know, yeah.
And they have such a giggle. It's so sweet.
I really like the dynamics between Jesse and Lisa. I think out of the whole Nightmare series, and I think even after Nightmare 1, which I like the characters in Nightmare 1. We've obviously talked about the characters in Nightmare 1, but that dynamic, Jesse and Lisa, it stays with me. I think that's my favourite dynamic in all the series.
Yeah,
I really enjoy them, and I enjoy the interaction and just the friendship they have.
Yes, and I think that's really she really wants to help him. There's a really sweet moment I wrote down. They're on their way to like registration or whatever it is, and she gives him a little, just a peck on the cheek before she leaves him to go
Yes.
off to her class, and the smile that he gives afterwards is just the sweetest, most genuine. He just looks thrilled that somebody accepts him. Maybe that's me looking at it now, knowing everything, but he just seems so
There's that
pleased
theme
that
of
he's found somebody.
That theme of acceptance definitely there. I think even if you didn't want to look into the subtext that we now know is there, you know, just in terms of going back to having really shitty parents again, you know,
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street, the parents are crap. I mean, Jesse's parents are dismissive. They're
Mm-hmm.
very I don't know, just aloof. They don't really interact with their children. There's no, you know, there's no really understanding or listening going on for Jesse. You know, Jesse's clearly having trauma. He's having nightmares, waking up sweating. He's, you know, there's obviously stuff going on, and his parents just don't really give a shit.
And they just jump to, you know, the dad jumps to, what are you taking? Who
Yeah.
gave you it?
It's drug. It's
You
drug
know,
use.
it's
Yeah.
Good evening, Does this belong to you?
Yes, it is. My son.
We found him out on the highway wandering around. He was naked. I'd keep a short leash on him if I were you.
Thank you.
Jesse, come.
Hey. Come here.
2 questions. You answer them, we can all go to bed, all right? What are you taking, son? Who are you getting it from?
I'm not taking drugs. Oh, I want to go to bed.
Come on.
That's where his head goes, not why is my child waking up screaming, and his scream is amazing. He has a fantastic
He does,
scream.
yeah. It's interesting you say that. Yeah, I hadn't noted that. But he does, yeah. No.
That scene where you don't see him. You know, normally in a film you would have that shot of him shooting up in bed screaming, but you don't. You see the family dynamic downstairs. So the cute little sister, you know, they're having their breakfast. It's very typical,
Fu
if you
Manchu
like.
cereal.
Yeah, oh,
the
I
claws.
love that. That is so cool. Yes. And you hear that scream, and they all stop. And the little sister asks, "What's wrong with Jesse?" Do you know? And they say nothing's wrong with him. He's just having a nightmare. You know, but that's not a typical way that a child has a nightmare or a you know, it's a blood curdling scream, and he wakes up and he is pouring. It's a really sweaty film. Really
a lot
sweaty
of fear
film.
in the film, isn't there? I think a lot of fear about being accepted. It's a fear about who you might be as a person.
And fear about what you might do.
Well, yeah, I think that comes into it as well. I think when you're looking at the backdrop of when the film was made and the society in which we're looking at conservative America,
Reaganism, isn't it?
Reaganism, and then there was the whole, I think, I might be wrong, but I think AIDS epidemic was initially termed gay-related immune deficiency. So it was targeting gay communities,
So
when it's clearly not. It was misunderstood as
spreading hatred.
So there is this hatred and homophobia that was running through culturally, obviously pre-80s as well, but certainly in the 1980s there was a heightened fear due to the epidemic that was going on. Is it queer horror?
I think it's been reclaimed as such. I think the queer community has claimed it as, you know, as theirs, and they celebrate what it is.
Which is really positive.
Absolutely, yeah, really absolutely. Positive. And I think, you know, Jesse is, you know, he's absolutely adorable. We just, certainly for me, I'm heartbroken for him. I you know, you see this internal struggle in every single area of his life. You know, he starts off with Grady. Is it Ron Grady? I think his name's Ron.
Yeah.
Ron. you know, they start off as being quite...
Oh, Robert Grady, is it?
Right.
Ron or Robert, anyways, Grady.
Right. You know, they start off with their initial conflict, and at one point, when they're being punished yet again, I think for the stick up the ass comment to the PE teacher, Jesse just says to him, "Do you have a problem with me? Like, what is going on?"
Yeah.
And Grady's so accepting. Is like, no, bro. Do you know?
Yeah.
And you get the sense that Jesse is just so locked in his own head. He's so insecure. Yeah.
Other people's perceptions of him.
And that initial, you know, when you were talking about that initial opening scene where he's on the bus, and we know it's a nightmare, although we don't know it's a nightmare to begin with. He looks so uncomfortable. You know, his shoulders are hunched,
at the
and
back of the bus, isn't he?
his eyes are darting everywhere. He just looks on high alert, and that's before we even know that Freddy's driving the bus. He looks like
he's in fear of his own safety at all times, isn't
he?
he? Really?
He just feels completely out with. He's on the fringes of his peers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, as a parent, that's terrifying. You wouldn't. So I can't relate to the way that his parents are to him, because, you know, he's so obviously distressed that you just wouldn't want that for your child. You want them to be happy and settled and connected to their peers. But again, that's, you know, testament to that great performance from Mark Patton, and we are totally invested in it from that first scene.
And let's not forget Lisa Myers.
I don't think you'll ever forget Lisa Myers.
I don't know.
The differentiation between the two, well, we had, you know, the stalking element in the initial one, and subsequent films, we don't. He doesn't stalk him. He claims him when he falls asleep.
You're mine.
Yeah.
What is it? He says that you're
kill for me, but that just sounds.
Well, he says as well.
Seedy.
He says that, and again, this is about objectifying Jesse. I think is.
You've got the body.
You've got the body. I've got the brains.
You've got the body. I've got the brain.
And I mean, obviously, women are objectifying, have been historically in film and media and things, you know. And there is this very sort of stark realization that Jesse, as a male figure, has been objectified by Freddy. It's just highlighting the body. It's a physicality of the possession element, which is kind of. This is where I think it gets a bit confusing. I think there's maybe get out clause in terms of what is the film actually describing? What's it talking about? You know, so we're safe within the realms of a possession element. You've got the body. I need your body to carry out.
To kill for me.
To kill.
Yeah.
But I think there's this this sexual.
Possession. This claiming him as
ownership of physicality over you know, mindset or who someone is.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any favourite kind of set pieces?
Oh, I love the pool party, and it's a great shot. Freddy coming out of the pool. I think that's what I like. There's a bit. I love the 80s. I miss the 80s. I think there's a bit of a rose tinted childhood perspective I have on the 1980s. But when I watch the 1980s, filmed in the 1980s, I always get a bit nostalgic, and I love that kind of teenage kind of kid party. The sort of thing I never had because I was too young in the 80s. But you know, just. An American party.
Yeah, it's very American, isn't it?
And so I love that. I love the party getting disrupted. I love the boiler. I mean, this boiler room. The idea that the cellar, the basement, Freddy's lurking. I love the aesthetics of the boiler room being brought into Jesse's house, as opposed to the original film where people were transported into Freddy's space.
Yes.
Boiler rooms come into Jesse's domestic space. This is, you know, Freddy's claiming the building. He's
Yeah. So it's entering it's entering his safe space.
Yes, yeah, domestic space,
Mm-hmm.
and he's affected by heat. You know,
Yes.
the heat of the places.
And the whole house is heating up from the minute they move in, isn't it? It's just, and it's that.
And there's elements of the original film that are quite nice to see as well. There's sort of bars in the window and the diary.
Nancy's diary.
Lights and Nancy's diary being...
March 15th. He comes to me at night. Horrible, ugly, dirty. Under the sheets with me. Tearing at my nightgown with his steel claws. His name is Fred. And he keeps trying to take me to the boiler room. He wants to kill me.
What is it? Tana is dead? Jess, are you okay?
It's just something that Grady said to me. About the girl that used to live here. How she went crazy when she saw her boyfriend get murdered across the street.
It's a bit hokey. It's a bit of a...
But do you think... Because what I noted last night when I was watching it, so Nancy has that diary entry where she talks about watching Glenn from her bedroom window, and there's part of her knows she mustn't, but the part of her that calls to him, that wants him, you know, and you know, you wonder, is that meant to be an echo for Jesse and what you know. He seeks comfort from Grady when distressing things happen. Even when Lisa's with him, he retreats to Grady.
There's the connection with Grady's death.
It's awful.
Awful. Yeah.
It's so sad.
Grady?
What?
It's starting to happen again.
Jesus. Hey, man. What the fuck's wrong with you, dude?
so angry with him as well. Like,
Yeah.
you know, again, parents of Elm Street and its surrounding areas are bullshit.
It's really good, and it's the sort of stuff I hadn't seen when I first watched these films. And I mean, the films were all about the face value of them, the shock and the gore, and you know, the forbidden nature of watching an 18 movie. So that's how I first encountered the films. But now starting to appreciate them differently, especially Nightmare 2. I think Nightmare 2 is the most, you could read so much into this film beyond any of the other films. And I mean, controversially, the original as well. I don't think, for me, Nightmare 2 is the Nightmare on Elm Street film that I love. You know, and it's, you know, I don't discredit any of the other ones. Certainly the first and the third in the series are fantastic. 4, 5, 6, whatever beyond, I don't even remember really. But certainly, the first 3 and number 2 is just, it's up there, one of my favourites. So yeah, Pool Party is a great set piece. Music's great. It's there's not just Jesse's, you know, dance along song, Touch Me All Night Long. There's other great 80s tracks in the film, and yeah, just it's I can go to that film anytime and just enjoy it. Really, that's yeah.
And do you think there's any? Do you think that kind of where you are now as a film viewer, as a person? Does Jesse's story kind of hit differently? Do you know, you've obviously got an affection for Jesse and hold him as a really, do you know, as your final boy.
I think those elements of being out of place, not realising why I was out of place necessarily as a younger person, I didn't feel in place in terms of school, and you know, I had definitely had friendships, but very specific friendships. You know, I wasn't, you know, I didn't socialise greatly, and so there was this kind of outcast feeling. I think I always related to characters in films that were a bit outcast.
Yeah, you see yourself within them.
Yeah, I used to get called Chunk at school from the Goonies. So I used to. Yeah, no, I'm quite proud of that name. Actually, I was quite. Yeah, I was happy with that.
You've reclaimed it.
Yeah, I've reclaimed it.
That's it.
But yeah, no, so I related in that sense that Jesse has a sense of isolation or not being understood. There's a lot of growing up. I think a lot of us don't feel understood, and so related to that. But yeah, as a viewer now, I can see even deeper into it, that there's fear on identity and being able to accept or even admit who you are as a person when you shouldn't be frightened. You know?
Yeah.
And sadly, we're still in a day and age where that's under scrutiny by
increasingly now
political agents that feel that it is relevant to politics. It's actually not. It's a very human. You know, to your sexuality is defined by who you are as a person. It's not by somebody's politics or beliefs or religion or culture. I don't mean to go off on one in terms of politics of today, but we are so clumsy in the way that we handle and treat people in terms of who they are and who they see themselves are and who they identify as, and just really being disrespectful.
And I think kind of officially, if you like, we're really regressing in terms of the strides that we've made.
I have a beer, please.
The two things actually. So Jesse's experience in, now is it called Sun's Palace?
Yes, I think yes.
It has that glaring light, Sun's Palace. Did you notice that now I think Jesse looks like a teenage boy. He looks sort of 17, 18, whatever age he's meant to be. He walks up into that bar and asks for a beer,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets served. Now, as we know, the legal age for drinking in America is 21.
Yes, yeah.
He is given a beer. There is a slight hesitation from the barman, but he gets a beer. And I just kind of, for me, I kind of thought that's because he belongs. He's not questioned because he belongs there. But I don't know. Maybe not. That's maybe a bit of a reach. It was just something that kind of occurred to me as I was watching it.
It may well be. My take on it is that he's in quite a predatory environment at that point.
So they want him inebriated, maybe, or
Well, that's my take on it. I'm not trying to suggest that, you know, gay culture, gay people are, you know, rapists or, you know, anything like that. But there is this, I think, because of the gym teacher.
right. They want to
Schneider,
make Jesse vulnerable.
Yeah, I think
Right,
there is this
okay.
vulnerability. Maybe a need. That's how I read it. I don't know. I think it can be read various
Yeah,
different
and I
ways,
think
but
I think that is the kind of the mastery of this film.
Sorry.
I think that is the kind of the mastery of this film, if that's even a word actually.
Yeah.
That there is so many ways that it can be, because obviously we're looking at it from a straight eye
Yeah.
and a completely accepting eye, do you know? But also there's so many people that would have a completely different read on this film. But what I also noticed is, so we're kind of staying on that that sequence, if you like, when Jesse is forced into the shower. To the right there is not an archway. It's like an opening to a different room, and it's bright red. And for me, I just wrote down lynch.
Oh yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That imagery, that visual.
It's very steamy, so it makes it dreamlike, and we know that you know, kind of
surrealist movement to it, which is that's interesting. I hadn't picked up on that actually. I mean,
just big, like that kind of, obviously an archway is rounded, but it's a big opening, and it's bright red.
Yeah,
and it just kind of. Just imagery, just Lynchian
is
imagery,
it
kind
bringing
of.
together two different environments, isn't it? That the sort of the red light of, I don't know, indulgence, and
the red room. That's what the red room is, isn't it? It's that kind of
sort of bringing together, and I don't know. That's interesting. It'd be interesting to go back and look at the imagery on some of these things.
And then so I wrote that when Schneider is shackled by the skipping ropes in the shower, and Jesse's obviously not there because it's meant to be Freddy, that felt like a rape scene. And then we get the next image, which is really, really powerful, which is Jesse naked with the glove. Like these are all very powerful kind of images that we're seeing. And the way that the Schneider's screaming no, just kind of
and Schneider's seen as quite a bullying authoritative figure up until that point. He's become hugely vulnerable and is he impaled? Is he impaled on
No, he's shackled by the skipping ropes to the shower heads. And then he's whipped with the towels. And then he's sliced.
Yeah, that's right.
Freddy is behind him and slices him.
And again, it's quite a graphic.
The
violence in it's actually really graphic. We talked about violence in Nightmare 1. There's a lot about, and I think someone commented today on the podcast about Tina's screams being heard, just hearing the audio of the screams, not seeing the visual of it. I think someone commented recently on one of our pages, and I think that's very true. You know, whereas this one, and I mean that was visual, but there is more. I mean, there is more violence in this film, I think, in terms of effect and gore and
And the body count's a lot
body
higher.
count, yeah, and just the ripping open of
Yeah.
bodies, you know. And there's that sort of birthing scene, that Freddy being birthed or being born, sorry, through the physicality of a person. And I think that's sort of revisited. I think in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 or 5, something like the dream child thing, the child that's born out of out of dreams. So yeah, there's a sort of precursor, I suppose, to a later sequels starting to be established in this film as well. I think Lisa's a great character. She is very much the one that takes the reins on investigation, and again that's similar to Nancy's role in the original film. You know, because the parents are so useless, she's the teenager that has to really sort out this problem.
And she's quite resourceful.
Yeah.
You know, and she kind of she's coaching Jessie through all this. You know, when towards the end, when, you know, there's no Jessie left. There is only Freddy, and she's sort of saying, "You can do this. You can fight him." And of course, it's the fairy tale. It's almost Disney, isn't it? You know, I love you enough to vanquish the bad man. Do you know what I did write about Lisa though? You might not like this.
Okay.
So one of her quotes is, "Just because you dreamt it doesn't mean you did it." And I just wrote, "Lol, she really does fancy him enough to turn a blind eye to murder." I was like, "Oh, Lisa, come on."
I like that, yeah.
Play a wee bit hard to get.
Yeah, oh God, that's really good. I like that.
And then underneath I wrote Detective Lisa and Jessie, just what you were saying.
Right, so sorry, sort of preempting what you were going to say. Yeah, I think it's quite evident in sort of that girl power stuff, you know, that's coming through in terms of, you know, female strength and ability and yeah, I think overall the film's so underrated and underappreciated, and I think I'm glad it's been reclaimed by, you know, LGBT communities and it needs to be owned by something. I think it deserves to be owned
and celebrated.
And I think it is just such a good film. It's really been dismissed on release. Absolutely was vilified, I think, for just being not very good, and that's completely wrong. It's actually a really good film. And I will always champion Freddy's Revenge. I think that's if you want to talk to me about Nightmare on Elm Street, be prepared to talk about part 2, because that is, for me, that is the almost perfect film. And as you say, the ending's a bit Disney. There's a bit.
It's a wee bit clunky, but
a wee bit clunky, but there's yeah. I mean, and the performances are so good. Mark Patton and Kim Myers are just. They're really good together. Mark Patton's he's the star of the show as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I absolutely urge you to watch Scream Queen, because I think you'll love it. He comes across as a guy who has had horrendous wrongdoings because of who he is. Yeah, just who he is. But he is hugely forgiven, and actually says it's a lovely quote, and sort of says forgiveness has a ripple effect. So he is and I think
I'd love to meet him actually. I'd love to talk to him about.
I think he does the circuit. I think he does the conventions and things.
I've got a lot of time and respect for him, and I don't think his career really did anything after this film, and I don't think that's so wrong. As you say, and you talked about his physical appearance, say on the bus, you know, how he looks dishevelled and small and frightened, and he has a physical performance, his emotional performance, his verbal. He's got it all.
Yeah. And I think, you know, there's such, I know that this word kind of gets bandied about when it comes to performance, but there is nuance in his performance. There's little glances in his eyes. There's you know, little twitches of his head when something's mentioned, and that look that he gives his little sister when she has the Fu Manchu fingers on. I mean, his eyes just widen in terror. You know, and you know he's recalling, and you know he's thinking back to whatever terror he experienced through the night. Yeah,
trigger, isn't it? You know, that he's been. Yeah, I just think it's fabulous. Have I said that enough? It's a fabulous film.
Do you like it?
I love it a lot.
You're a fan of this
I
film?
really like this film.
Did you notice the Evil Dead style camera work?
Yes, I did.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yes,
actually.
that is. Yeah, and that would have
Flying
been
up the stairs.
83. Evil Dead was 83. Evil Dead 2 was 86, 87. So yeah, Evil Dead it would have been. Yeah, so yes, I think there's definitely a homage to Evil Dead there, and yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot actually. And did you clock the grossest screen kiss between Jesse and Lisa? It's not. It doesn't look like a great snog.
No,
I have to say.
No, it was a missed opportunity, I think.
Yeah. But I think that kind of almost, for me, that almost kind of cemented their relationship, because actually it's complete love, complete acceptance.
Yes, of each other, yes.
But actually that sexual chemistry isn't necessarily there.
Yeah.
Do you know, it just looks like the purest friendship.
And it almost gets there, doesn't it? The act of having sex is almost there before it's interrupted and torn apart by...
Well, that's it, Freddy's tongue. You know, as soon as he begins to kind of make contact with Lisa's body, you have this, you know, his tongue becomes Freddy's horrible tongue, and then he recoils. And that poor girl probably thinks it's her.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's spoken about as being the rich girl, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
rich.
right, yeah.
I can't remember how.
I think if you're living in a house like Elm Street, though, you've got to be pretty.
Yeah. It's
rich.
a nice area.
It's a nice area.
I've written down. We love that street.
Is it California? Is that where it's meant to be?
I think so.
It's a lovely area. Yes.
And I love that.
My budget, I think.
Yeah, I love that her parents let her have this pool party.
Yeah.
And then they retreat up to their bed, and all these teenagers are watching for the lights to go out so that they can party. And
it's brilliant, isn't it?
Did you think that the lights going out made them deaf?
It made them absolutely deaf, and they can't hear a thing. But it was great. And
It's a nice party.
Come on, Skinny. It's time for bed.
You're in charge, Hotshot. 12:30, miss. No later.
12:30.
Have a nice time. Hi. What's the matter with Jesse?
I don't know. Jesse,
I'll be out in a second.
can I please come in and talk to you?
Listen, I'm gonna leave. I'm not into this. I'm sorry.
Jesse, why won't you talk to me?
Will you just leave me alone?
You're not being fair. I want to help you.
How can you help me? What are you gonna do for me? Look, I feel like I'm losing my mind. And I don't want you to watch me fall apart. I'm afraid to go to sleep. I'm afraid to stay awake. I'm ruining your party. They're gonna take me away.
Come on, don't say that. Listen, we'll stay up all night if we have to. I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
Come on, any second, honey, second. Yeah!
are they doing down there?
Oh, Eddie, they're kids.
I know they're kids.
You gotta get some rest.
Again, it's that sort of 80s vibe about it. That's
It's
just
very kitsch,
kind of-
isn't it? I like
just,
that. Yeah.
You know, waiting for the lights out, and then there's a cheer, and the party's on, and it's just the adventure of youth.
Going back to that pool party, just very, very, we're not going back to it, we're chatting about it. But did you, on this watch, kind of notice anything about, now, as everybody knows, as you know, as our lovely listeners know, I would go to the ends of the earth for Robert Englund and his performance of Freddy. But it just looked... He's not a big guy. We've spoken about that before.
He is, yeah. He's quite a slight guy, actually.
Yeah.
And he's got
it
this...
looks like any one of those teenagers could probably have taken him out.
No, I'm invested in Freddy at this point. I think Freddy can do some real harm. So
Do you think?
I get what you're saying. There is the stature of Robert Englund there, and maybe, you know, size and gait that he has, but he's very intimidating. I think it's the bus driver, and we see Robert Englund for the first time.
I love that.
And I'd forgotten about that,
He's
actually.
just such a cutie pie. I
Aye,
just love him so much.
He's the one that he's driving the bus at the beginning, so he's out of Freddy makeup, so we're getting to see... I believe Robert Englund almost didn't appear in this film, from what I understand.
Oh, really? Was he not
I believe
not signed on for
he
it?
didn't want to sign on for it, and I may be wrong in terms of what he wished to do or what he didn't want to do, but in terms of he wasn't going to have, you know, in terms of, I don't know, in terms of what he would be paid and things like that, wasn't
Right,
going to be
okay.
very worthwhile, and yeah, they had to do it. I think they had started production, but then realised quickly that it wasn't going to work without Robert Englund. And I think, again, that says a lot about Robert Englund already embodying a character that he's only played once before, and being required to be in the series.
Yeah.
And I think I'm wrong. I think I'm right in saying that it's not until about Nightmare 4. I think Robert Englund's quoted as saying that he felt that he got free reign of what he wanted to do with Freddy's performance.
Right.
Whereas
he could do anything. I just love him.
Yeah.
Robert, if you are listening, if the stars align and you're listening to this podcast, we think you're fantastic.
We do.
And
yes. We'd love to see you and hear from you.
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds a bit.
Come and sign the glove.
Yeah.
Please. I wrote Poolside Massacre.
Yeah.
Elm Street Poolside Massacre.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's a good. I think it's different, isn't it? I don't know if I'd seen something like that. I think we've seen Blood Beach, haven't we, in the past? That's a sort of late 70s, early 80s movie where people were being dragged under the sand, and
Creepshow 2.
Creepshow
with
2.
The raft, yeah.
Yeah, so there has been kind of water-themed massacres in the past, but this was suburban 1980s. I can't stop saying 1980s. I love the 1980s. Sort of suburban 1980s neighbourhood
And there's scantily,
parties.
you know, we're going into that 80s trope of scantily clad teenagers in peril because you know
they've been promiscuous.
They're partying. They're
Yes,
partying hard.
yes.
They're wanting a good time, and they are going to suffer.
They're going to suffer for it. Yeah.
Suffer the consequences of it.
And the parents have just gone to bed.
Well, yeah. I mean, there you go. That light goes out, and there's no noise in that house. Clearly, excellent double glazing. So,
Yes.
well, they are very wealthy. So there we go.
Earplugs or something.
Yeah. Well, I think they were hoping to maybe. They were getting a little cocktail. They were having a cocktail in bed. I think they were maybe hoping that
so
they might get to do some
They had some plans.
teenager behaviour of their own.
Right, okay, right.
What's going on? Just calm down, right? Relax. Yeah. It's gonna be all right. Nobody's gonna hurt you. Just tell us what you want, all right? Okay, I'm here to help you.
Help yourself, fucker!
Is there any really creepy imagery for you in this one? I've got one in
Yes.
mind. I wonder if it's the same one.
Well, it's the I've got the brains and the ripping off the head. I think, and it's done in shadow as well. There's not. I'm sure I'm right in saying that it's in the hallway of Jesse's house. And you've got the body, I've got the brains, and he peels back his head,
Yes,
and you get the visual. You get in the light somehow. You get the sort of throbbing brain exposed. And it's just very, I found that. I always found that when I was young, I found that quite frightening because it is cast in shadow. You don't quite see everything, but you see enough to make it quite visceral, quite disturbing. So, I like that shot. I love the pool party we talked about, obviously. I love that kind of setup. But I think within the house, and I think the idea of something in the basement is always something that I've found quite creepy.
Yeah.
I've never gone into, there's not many houses that I've been in that have had basements, but whenever I'm moving in somewhere, or if I was renting somewhere in the past, or if I moved into a new house, I have to check the attic. I have to make sure that attic's clear. There's nothing in it.
There's no rocking chair.
No rocking chair, nothing like that. Otherwise, I'm not comfortable.
No covered up
I've
mirror
done that
or
in places
something.
that I've rented. I've gone up the attic and just had a look around to make sure there's nothing in it. And I think the
Have you got an
space in it.
extendable mirror? I like to think that you're up there with like a
No,
selfie
I've
stick
never
style.
used that. I always had to just get the ladder and just pop
You're
my head
brave.
up. Yeah,
Wow.
I am quite brave. But so I get the idea of space in a house that could be dangerous, and I like that in the sort of basement and the boiler room coming into Jesse's houses.
It's infiltrating.
So I'm not sure if that aligns with what you were talking about, but
Those are amazing images. I had two. One that really unsettled me was the eye and the mouse during that full possession scene. That there was something about that I just and again we've got the kind of the duality and the kind of the metaphor for there's somebody, the real person is in there and trying to get out.
Absolutely,
But also, now this might not unsettle anyone else, but I found it really, really uncanny was the vinyl melting. So it's on the edge of a unit
it's
and
like
it's bending over.
The Salvador Dali painting. There's a melted vinyl, is there? Is it, or have we got
I think you might be right.
Lamp or something?
There's something. It just it's not right.
It does bring me back to Salvador Dali surrealism, and there's the phallic candles as well.
Oh, I didn't
Very
clock
phallic
them.
shaped candles.
Oh, really?
Unless I'm becoming more hyper vigilant over things, but yes, I'm sure there's imagery that again the idea of everything melting is quite.
You just know, you can feel that house.
Yeah.
We're sat in a listeners. We're in a not very large space. It's a unusually hot day in Scotland, and this little space is roasting. So you can imagine when the house gets to the point where everybody is the sweat's pouring
I've got a
off
really
them.
big vinyl collection. I would cry so much if any of those melted.
Protect that at all costs.
I know. It's just the idea of vinyl being damaged in any way is enough to give me shivers.
We're getting an insight into Rob's true fears now.
Yes, of my true priorities and fears in life.
And is there anything else that you feel is worth mentioning?
Just urge people to see it. I think people who haven't seen it, or maybe have seen it in the past and sort of brushed it off, just revisit the film and appreciate the really good performances that are in this film, and take away the fact that it's a sequel, take away the fact that it's part of a franchise, just watch the film for what it is, and it is really an interesting piece on I think the fears and desires that people have, the fears of their own desires, and just of who they are, and I think it's so worthwhile, and I think it is actually one of the best horror films of the 80s for me, just looking back retrospectively because of the themes and the undercurrents in it, and I think it's quite powerful. So I can't rate it highly enough.
And do you feel like it's, for you, do you feel it's almost a standalone in a lot of ways, or could be a standalone?
It's almost like that thing. I mean, I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but I love Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, because and it is celebrated as one of the best films, and I can just watch that film for what it is.
You don't need the world building around it.
I don't need the world around it, and it's the same with Nightmare 2. I can go to that film with awareness of it, the background and the franchise, but it's the film that I generally go to, as I say, controversially, even over and above the original most of the time. And I think that that is quite a statement to make, but
on this podcast
it is. I can feel the energy in this room has just changed. It's very chilly now.
Listeners, you have just listened to the dissolution of Beyond the Screen.
I can approach it as a standalone, and it's so worthwhile.
I love that.
People need to see it.
Yes, and I absolutely echo that. It is one that absolutely needs to be seen. There's some fantastic imagery, and as we've said, the performances are fantastic.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. Jesse, it's okay. It's all over.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Freddy's Revenge. If you liked what you heard today, follow, rate, and find Beyond the Scream wherever you get your podcasts. And remember to come say hi over on our socials. We love hearing from you. Until next time.